Hey guys, thanks for stopping by to watch another video here at All I See is W, where we talk about stocks, Bitcoin, and finance. Today, I'd like to talk about a Bitcoin mining company that is Marathon Digital, ticker MARA, and why I believe this stock is positioned to have significant bullish runs in the year 2025 and onward. We hear a lot about the Bitcoin markets right now, especially with Friday's price action, Bitcoin hovering up to 98,000. There's a lot of forecasts as to how far Bitcoin cycle will go up, with estimates up to about 225,000. We'll cover all of the technicals analysis and fundamental analysis updates with Mara and what my forecasts of Bitcoin price as well as Mara's price in the year 2025. Now, if you're new to this channel, I would really appreciate you hitting the like, subscribing for more related content. Now, first, I'd like to cover the technicals of Mara. So we're looking at just a short-term intraday, just trading within the last couple of weeks of Mara. So we saw that on Friday's trading, we had so much price action, especially with the rise in Bitcoin, including companies like MicroStrategy. But the good news is seeing Mara pop up here from a technicals analysis. We see here the Ichimoku cloud. Good news is that Mara was able to break through that Ichimoku cloud, hovering above that cloud. We want to be above that cloud because anytime the price is below or in between that cloud, that will draw that gravitational pull down. But I think there's huge upside here, especially with the miners and Mara being the number one HODL miner as well as the highest throughput mining miner out there. This really positions Mara to have lots of potential in the years to come as well as 2025 here. I believe that Mara, because with this recent bullish reverse pattern V-shape up, we talk a lot about the reverse pattern coming soon, and we saw that with Friday. I think that as we're heading into the new year, lots of repositioning into companies like Marathon Digital here. So really good news, just seeing Mara pop beyond this Ichimoku cloud. And let's just take a look at a zoomed out perspective here. So we're looking at a 5 year range. At one point we had this resistance line, back in 2021 when Mara break through that $75. But just on a zoomed out scale here, we see the MACD overall, it's consistent with the relative strength index. It's been oversold, which is why we see a lot of selling with the recent weeks where the price, it was at like $30 late November, and then we had that pullback down to like $17. But I think we established that support ground, and I think we're going to start seeing that upward trending with the price of Mara. Most of you are wondering how high can Mara go? I believe where the current price is, I see that potential 3 to 5x. So 3x meaning we have like this tier one resistance line here at $60. I think if we can break through that tier one zone resistance line, then that additional 200% gain, 5x to that prior resistance, 75 to $100. I think there's that potential. We hear a lot about Bitcoin getting up to 225,000 and that Bitcoin miners eventually will be $100 billion market cap company. Where Mara is right now, I think eventually 2025 is going to break through that $10 billion market cap in like the near term, which is like end of this month or February. But I think that that additional market cap increase into 100 billion market cap, that's going to be coming. And as a result, we should see the Bitcoin price as well as Mara's price start hovering up. Let's take a look at this article here from the Miner Mag. In that Miner Weekly, US accounts for 40% of Bitcoin's hash rate. So what we're looking at here, this blue zone here is basically all of the hash rate from the United States. And we see in the dark hue, that's Mara's contribution. So you see here the stack bar, Mara's contribution continues to increase while we see other, like the ant pool getting smaller and the Luxor getting smaller. So that's a good sign. We're seeing that overall dark blue and blue increasing. So that will really support the driving factor for the US strategic Bitcoin reserve. So I think that's really a good testament. I think that what has driven up the Bitcoin price overall. So the shift marks a significant departure from a past. Not long ago, mainstream media reports were rife with FUD about five Chinese pool controlling more than 50% of Bitcoin's hash rate. However, since China's mining ban in 2021, the US has taken the lead in Bitcoin mining. We will see the media stirring FUD again, this time about the centralization of mining in the US. So I think that's really good news, especially with Trump as a pro Bitcoin advocate. He wants oil mining, he wants Bitcoin mining to happen, and that's going to be backed up by the North American Bitcoin miners. So I think this is a really good sign for the miner sectors, and with Mara being that leading miner currently in the United States, that's really going to benefit the strategic reserve here. Let's take a look at an article in that we had, the CEO, Fred Thiel, interview with Fox, regarding Bitcoin investment strategies. So the key takeaway from that article is that, it's important to consider investing over time into Bitcoin. We look at 12 years of Bitcoin. There was like, three bearish market cycles. However, the remaining years we saw consistent growth. And he even tells his kid to continue, putting money in over time to invest. But overall, I think a lot of the driving factors is, the possibility of the US Bitcoin reserve, more institutional adoption via spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds. So what that means is like eventually there's going to be ETFs where these ETFs are really going to reach out to these miners to, in exchange as a spot exchange traded fund. So miners will allow these ETFs to leverage the Bitcoins that the miners hold. And as a result, these miners will get in exchange cash flow for these spot Bitcoins that are leveraged on these exchange traded funds. So think about IBIT, right? All of the Vanguard, BlackRock ETFs that were created, eventually these ETFs are going to have to, have spot hedge against Bitcoins that are held on by these miners. And that's really going to result in that partnership between the government and the private sector, Bitcoin here. So I think overall, all in all, we know that Bitcoin reserve is going to increase not only by the government, but also by retails. But I think that this is really going to show how Mara is going to add value as they continue to scale up their overall HODL count. I think now currently getting close to that 45,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, including their purchase and mining capacity of 700 to 900 Bitcoins per month. Let's take a look at recent article release here where Mara announces Bitcoin production and mining operation updates for December. Good news is that they ramped up their hash rate up to 53.2 exahash. And I just wanted to point out that they also improved their fleet efficiency to 20 joules per terahash. So I think they're a little behind like Iron and CleanSpark, but overall, because they have such a high throughput with hash rate, there has to be some give and take, but this really helps them mine, like more than like 1 to 2 Bitcoins per hour on the operations daily scale, per hour. That just shows that they're just mining at high capacity. And on top of that, increasing their Bitcoin yield to, close to 45,000. So 24 was a year where they increased their Bitcoin year per share of 62.7. And we're going to see that on their income statement. They're going to announce that during their Q4 quarterly results. But I think that Mara is going to just nail it, you know, We're going to see lots of positive movement the moment they announce their Q4 results. But here, very consistent numbers here. They purchased 22,000. They mined about less than 10,000 in 2024. Overall HODL count at the end of the year, 40, close to 45,000. Think about the revenue that was generated from the rising cost of Bitcoin price. All of that's going to be factored into their income statement. But here you see here Bitcoins produced for the month of December, 890. So very consistent numbers from the prior months they've been reporting here. And the number of blockchains won, 249. That's just significant. We saw Mara's hash rate, how they're contributing to the overall hashing in the United States. And this is really adding value to the shareholders along with just increasing their energized hash rate. I think that, you know, they're not going to stop here. 2025 will be a rising factor to increase their hash rate, bring down their fleet efficiency cost as well. But overall, average Bitcoin produced per day, 28.7. I'm thinking that that eventually will start, going beyond that 30 threshold range, which is what we saw in November as Mara continues to scale up their operations. So all in all, just looking at, just number of Bitcoin holdings, we see that rise in Bitcoin and then shares outstanding. Yes, we do see that the number of shares do incrementally increase here. So it'll be interesting to see if there's going to be any additional dilution that will be coming out. But I'll cover all of those details as we, head into the future here. But overall, convertible notes, Mara, they used $2 billion to acquire more Bitcoin, which contributes to this overall number here, close to 45,000 Bitcoin. But can you imagine 45,000 times 225,000 Bitcoin fair value price? That's really going to drive up Mara's share price, even though we see the outstanding shares here increasing. I think all of that's going to be considered, but we do anticipate Bitcoin price is going to increase. Let's take a look at their overall Q3 2024 financial operational highlights. So obviously we do see energized hash rate increasing here, right? 36.9, but it'll be interesting to see how much of the hash rate, increased just based on where Mara is currently at. And their Bitcoin production down 41% year to year to, 2,000 Bitcoins. I think all of that was attributed to the halving event. But I think that overall, with the recent month over month improvements, this is all going to change with the Bitcoin production that we saw, where they're mining like, close to 900 Bitcoins per month now. Blocks one, we also see that increase. Revenue here, I think that we're going to see a huge uptick here. I think, possibly into the increase to like, 300 million just revenue alone. And can you imagine the net profit for that based on the income that was generated from the cost of Bitcoin price being higher now? Net loss, I think we're going to see, net positive here in this regard. So overall, there's just going to be a lot of upside as we look at the Q4 results here. Just with the Bitcoin HODL, we saw that their yield was significantly increased in 2024. So overall, I just wanted to just cover the financial forecasting in Q4. I think we're going to see things through the lens of lots of good data, and that's going to be reflected in their share price. And I'm thinking Mara has that 3 to 5x potential overall, just with forecasting here. There's, HC Wainwright forecasting 225,000 for Bitcoin. There's even other folks, suggesting that in the next 3 year cycle at a conservative level, Bitcoin can get to that 500,000 level. Bullish 2025 Bitcoin targets here. We have a range of 160K to 250K. So standard charted of like 200K based on this British multinational bank analysts here. So I think that even a small allocation of USD in US retirement funds would significantly boost Bitcoin price. All of this is really going to drive price of Bitcoin up, the creation of ETFs, more money inflows, and we would like to turn even more bullish if Bitcoin saw a more rapid uptake by US retirement funds global sovereign wealth funds or a potential U.S. strategic reserve fund. So think about if global investors want to buy MARA, which currently you see that, but as we see ETFs, global ETFs, adopting MARA along with miners, that's really going to be huge here. So here we have a Swiss-based crypto fund manager anticipating that Bitcoin will more than double to 250,000 by this year. So that just speaks to the overall sentiment. And here's a quote: "These projections align with ongoing trends and social markers, increasing recognition of Bitcoin as a reserve asset. More Bitcoin and crypto exchange related traded profits will result in like stronger adoption." So I think all in all, Bitcoin, can substantially speed up individual investment portfolios towards reaching personal financial goals. And I think through Mara, you can't really speak about Bitcoin without talking about, Bitcoin miners. And vice versa, you can't talk about Bitcoin miners without talking about the price of Bitcoin. But I do think that we're in for a long shot here where I think we're going to possibly start seeing a V shape with Mara. So lots of money inflows and congratulations. We see, an increase with Mara's share price on Friday, double digits, but I think that there's going to be more to come. We do know inaugurations happening. Q4 results are going to be happening. We just had huge upside with the December data that was announced, but there's going to be more to come. So I'd love to hear what your comments and questions are. Thank you.